Thank you for auditing Professor Skye's Record Review, the only first listen new music review show hosted by a French professor while his wife makes eggs for lunch. It's going to be a quick video. I'm pretty excited to eat eggs. If you hear some ambient noise, it might be the sound of some scallions being chopped. I don't know. I have a pretty good life right now. So I'm going to be reviewing an album by V.C. Pines called Skully. Usually on Saturdays, I try to review the hottest new album that I like and sort of get it set so maybe I can get the algorithm and get lots of people viewing. But nothing came out this week that really spoke to me. So instead, I'm going to be reviewing this album by a fairly obscure British singer, songwriter, orchestrator. Let me tell you how I want to start with this album, which first of all is an EP, and it is extremely, extremely good. It's worth listening to right now if you want to listen to it. It takes 20 minutes. It's the kind of album where you listen to it and then it rolls over and you just keep listening to it again. It's almost like it's two for the price of one because it's such an enjoyable listen. But it starts like this. A guitar plays, and then this voice comes in. I did a little bit of research. It turns out the voice is someone named Skully, an Irish artist, does kind of like interesting work with color. And it's him talking about not having doubt as an artist. So the guitar plays, and then this quote from this must be some documentary plays, and it says, "You have to have faith and commitment and belief to do something that hasn't been done before, or to create something extraordinary." And there's a part in this quote which I find the most interesting. He's talking about confidence, he's talking about believing in himself, but there is a very, very pregnant pause in between the words, "do something that hasn't been done before." It's as though he is actually a little bit doubting himself, that he should say that he is doing something he hasn't done before. And then follows it up with, "or create something extraordinary." I would say that is where we are with this album itself. I think you could say that this album is doing something that hasn't been done before, or created something extraordinary. It's right in between those two things. To explain to you why, I'll do my kind of traditional... Oh, Toby. Toby, you want to say hi? No, you want to go join Bo? Okay. He always joins me on my Saturday videos. I can't stop him. So I'll give you an idea of what the equation is, the equation of this album and of this singer, because it's very interesting. In order to create something new, something that hasn't been done before, you really have to work hard. And there's not so much that you can do, right? Because almost everything's been done in rock and roll. Almost everything's been done with guitars and drums and bass and singing. Yet somehow this album does something that I believe to be new. I'm sitting right next to the dog bed, so they're both trying to cuddle at the same time, but it's a small dog bed, so there's going to be lots of dog action here. This is Bo, not Toby. Toby's the famous one, but Bo's the noble, gentle soul. Aren't you, Bo? Okay, so let me give you a concept of what the V.C. Pines equation is. So you have this flanged guitar, which is played everywhere, but it's a very clean flanged guitar. And while he plays it, it might be like a Rickenbacker or some kind of old-style electric guitar that's maybe semi-acoustic. It's not at all grimy or gritty or rocking. It's just a nice, clean guitar. And then there'll be some soulful singing over it. Now, when I say soulful, I really mean like soul music. He has an amazing falsetto range. That's Bo's tail walking in front of the camera. He has an amazing falsetto range. He has a very good low range. At different times, he will bring up different registers higher in the mix. Mixed in with this is this tendency for just absolutely bonkers and awesome instrumentation. In particular, his usage of horns and drums on this album is just great. So he has this very simple flangy, clean guitar line that goes, and then all of a sudden some drums or horns will come up that really emphasize this kind of soulful feeling. In particular, the trombone work. I think if V.C. Pines is out there, you should send your trombone player an extra $5 or £5, as you call it in England. I'm international. So I'll take you through each track. There's only 5 tracks, but each one of them is great. Each one of them is stylistically consistent, but different enough to merit listening. It starts off with that track Skully, with that person talking about not having self-doubt. And when the drums come in and when the trumpet comes in, it's just awesome. And then he starts doing kind of a like spoken word thing. He does a little bit of spoken word, almost rap, at times here, but it's nice because it's got that very thick London accent, which gives it an interesting sound. And then at some point there's like two different horns, like one's in the left, one's in the right, one's a trumpet, the other's a trombone, and it's just exciting. Like you feel like it starts off so mellow with this guy talking about, I don't doubt myself, and then all of a sudden it gets very exciting. The next track is the track I'm going to play for you. It's called Pluto. And this is the best example of, I think, his soulful singing and his ability to just sing in this high falsetto and not have it sound affected. At times, the music reminded me of Midnight Vultures by Beck, but without the irony. And even without retro, that's the thing. If we're going to give this guy credit, if we're going to go towards something that hasn't been done before versus something that's just extraordinary, to create a soul album that doesn't feel at all retro is impressive. Bo keeps walking on my notes. Good boy. So I'm going to play you a little bit of this sound. I'm going to play you the bit right as the drums come in, and there's this cool ratcheting sound, and you just kind of hear everything all come together in a way that I haven't heard it. So let's listen to 14 seconds of it right now. We've been through. The next track is the single off the album called Cracks, which on first listen I didn't like that much. Maybe because it was so clean. It's maybe the cleanest song on the album in terms of its instrumentation and its production. The falsetto is very high. It's very much the high voice is dominating here. But it's really nice because he has very subtle lyrics together. I mean, very subtle harmonies with his own voice. And then great lyrics. It seems to be about like a breakup or feeling out or down and out. And he said that I woke up to the moon, who's a better friend than you, which is pretty cool. I like that idea. Nice kind of instrumental bridge, nice outro. And then at the very end, this outro, what makes it so nice is it's him speaking in the high voice, but it's paired with a low voice, and it just matches beautifully. And this concept that keeps coming back about the end of a relationship, referring to it as I can see the cracks inside the creases. That's worth a second to think about. The cracks inside the creases. So a good relationship, anything that's good, anything that's worth having, isn't great when it's new. It's great when it has creases, when you can use it, when you can tell, the places where it's used. But then it stops working when those creases have cracks in them. This guy, this British dude who I'd never even heard of. I don't know what the hell VC Pines means. I don't know what the name is. I never heard of this guy. I was just looking for something as catchy as the Strokes or Fiona Apple, and I fall on this Something Extraordinary album. And here's this beautiful concept of a relationship that you want a relationship with creases, but not one with cracks. Hooray, hooray for VC Pines. That's a great lyric. The next thing I would say before moving on to the next track, sorry, I have my notes, but sometimes I get ahead of myself. I would say that the vocals at points actually remind me in a good way of Jeff Buckley. I'm not the hugest Jeff Buckley fan, but in terms of somebody who can have a high amount of range with emotional strength behind it, that's actually what this made me feel. And I think that's a fairly impressive thing. If somebody can remind you of Jeff Buckley and not annoy the piss out of you, they're probably a good artist. Because people who sound like Jeff Buckley are annoying as hell. Jeff Buckley himself can be annoying. You know what I mean? Maybe you know what I mean. Maybe you don't. This is actually something I would like you to comment on. What do you think about my theory? People who try to sound like Jeff Buckley are terrible. The next track, Taste Your Love, is nice because it brings up the bass. His bass vocals, like he has these different ranges, and so that's heavier in the mix. It's kind of a sexy song that's actually kind of sexy. Great lyric. Hey, how's it going? I just want to taste your love. I don't know. That's like okay, now that I say it, that sounds creepy. Ew. Okay, my wife and daughter just said very creepy. You know what? I'm taking it back from you, VC Pines. It's not sexy. When you sing it and you play it, it sounds all cool, but when you take it out of context, how's it going? I want to taste your love. Ew. Ugh. All right. Again, if you're a fan of this album, what do you think of that line? But he does end it with saying, I would like to stay upside down for days. I don't know what that means, but it's cool. It ends with the track Bluebirds, which on first listen was my least favorite track, but maybe my favorite in the end. He's sort of in his middle range, and he harmonizes higher and lower, but just it's got this great sense of lyrics, that there's this emptiness inside of him, and he fills them with bluebirds. Again, just a very rich, poetic. It's a very richly poetic album without ever feeling like it's trying to be poetic. And it's just has these great horns that come in kind of halfway through. There's even like a very light melodic guitar solo that really quite works. And just the horn usage throughout is amazing. I mean, that track Pluto I played for you ends with like this horn hit, and you feel like the song's going to go in some other direction, but then it just doesn't. So there you go. There's my big Saturday release. I don't think I'm going to hit the thousands, but I don't care. This channel is about discovering new music, and this is very, very good music. It might be something that hasn't been done before. The conglomeration, the juxtaposition of everything, the way that it's done, I don't think I've ever heard anything like it. So, there you go. Did you listen to this album? Have you listened to this album? What do you know about VC Pines? Because I don't know anything, but I'm pretty interested. All right. Well, until next time, for Bo and Toby, who have finally quieted down, and for how the eggs doing?
Great.
Awesome.
Almost ready.
I'm gonna go eat some eggs. Okay. There's the camera.